One day, an ordinary young man receives an unexpected gift from a mysterious girl, an isekai reincarnation ticket. In an instant, his life changes as he awakens as Rufus, a prince in a fantastical new world. In this realm where every individual wields unique powers, Rufus is granted the rare and formidable summoning skill. Unlike those who seek fame or dominance, Rufus desires a peaceful, carefree life surrounded by adorable, fluffy, magical creatures. With his summoning ability as his guide, he embarks on a journey to master his craft and build a cozy, adventure-filled life and irresistibly fluffy companions. And so, before revealing too much, let's begin the story. It all started out of the blue. While playing with a cat, he was suddenly congratulated and informed that he had won an isekai ticket. He was confused by the situation, wondering why a beautiful girl was speaking to someone like him, someone who was always alone with no friends. He had never even had a girlfriend, yet she somehow knew about the secret fluffy spot where he stopped every day on his way home from college. He wondered if she was there to get her fluffy fix too. But the lady said that was not the case and handed him the ticket. He read the words on it, questioning if it was a special offer as the ticket was labeled Isekai Reincarnation Ticket. He was confused by what was happening. The lady told him they would meet again soon, leaving him even more bewildered before he was suddenly transported to another dimension. He heard a baby crying. It was so bright. He wondered where he was. Rufus was startled, and the lady asked what was wrong with Prince Rufus. He then wondered if the crying sound was his own. Before he knew it, Rufus had been reincarnated in another world. This place was called Moonguard, a world where swords and magic were real, and he was not just any noble, he was apparently a prince. So that was what the special offer meant. His name was Rufus Elidoria, the third prince of the kingdom of Elidoria. Baby Prince Rufus stood up, and the maids were overjoyed at the sight. Having grasped the situation in front of him, Rufus continued to pretend to be a baby to a degree that would not let those around him notice. He grew up healthy and strong until he turned 7. In this world, when a person turns 7, they take part in something called the skill inheritance ceremony. Nobody knows what skill they will inherit until the moment it happens. Rufus turned around when someone asked if he was nervous. It was his 2 brothers, Gilliam Elidoria, the first prince of the kingdom of Elidoria, and Leonardo Elidoria, the second prince of the kingdom of Elidoria. Gilliam said that of course Rufus was nervous, as everyone was curious about what skill they would receive. Leonardo replied that it was true, as they had felt the same. Then he mentioned that it was almost time, which startled Rufus. His brothers assisted him as he walked, but Rufus insisted that he could walk by himself. They simply told him not to be shy. They soon arrived at the place where the skill inheritance ceremony would take place. Another child was currently undergoing the ceremony, and Rufus was next. Rufus thought that his father was watching, and the situation felt like a school open house, making him feel nervous. The priest called for Prince Rufus Elidoria and asked him to place his hand on the crystal. Rufus agreed and placed his hand on it. The crystal glowed brightly, and the priest announced that Prince Rufus had awakened his skill, the summoning skill. Rufus turned and wondered why everyone was reacting so strongly. Summoning, as in summoning magic, he thought, questioning if it was actually a really important skill. He wondered what would happen if something crazy came out. Even if he managed to summon a monster, he doubted he could handle it. He thought that if he was going to handle monsters anyway, he would rather live his life surrounded by fluffy creatures like a tamer. Someone remarked that Rufus had really drawn a rare skill. Rufus turned and saw his big brothers. They greeted him, and he realized it truly was a rare skill. He then wondered what exactly the summoning skill was. His brother mentioned that he should ask the Summoners Guild for details. Rufus was curious about the guild, and his brother explained that for skills that had not been fully understood yet, there were research organizations called guilds. There were only a handful of summoning skill inheritors in the entire country, and he thought there were only 2 people in the Summoning Guild. They arrived at their destination, and his brother knocked on the door. The door opened, and someone inside said they had been expecting them. The man bowed and said that their father had informed them of Rufus's arrival. He introduced himself as Selbus Tian, the head of the Summoners Guild, and the woman introduced herself as Lala. Rufus thought to himself that there really were only two of them. Rufus apologized for getting straight to the point and asked if Selbus could tell him about the summoning skill. Selbus replied, of course, and while pointing to the door, said it was right this way to their library. Rufus entered and thought it was a small. Calling it a library might be a bit of an overstatement. Selbus Tian picked up a book and led Prince Rufus. Rufus opened the book, thinking it was an encyclopedia. Rufus wondered about the book. Selbus confirmed that, just as Rufus had guessed, what was written in the book was neither an animal nor a monster. Selbus explained that they called these magical beings. Rufus thought about the magical beings, realizing they were all creatures not found in any encyclopedia he had read in the royal library. He wondered if these were the only creatures he could summon, noticing there seemed to be fewer types than he expected, and worried this might actually be a dud skill. He then asked to see someone summon something. Selbus agreed and called on Miss Layla. Lala was surprised but proceeded with the command. Rufus hoped that nothing scary would come out as Lala continued the summoning, manifesting a marmot. Rufus was watching the summoning. He first saw the feet and then he saw the whole marmot. Rufus stared at the marmot and his eyes glowed with excitement. Rufus wished Lala could summon something else, but Lala could only summon the marmot. Then Selbus said he could call forth one other type of creature. Rufus's eyes lit up and he said he wanted to see it. Selbus started the chant, commanding in the name of Selbus Tian to manifest burden. Then a cute bird appeared on his shoulder. Rufus's eyes lit up, and he thought that this one was fluffy too. Rufus wondered if he could try too, and thought that he actually wanted to touch them. Selbus allowed him to go ahead. Selbus explained that what was needed to use the summoning skill to call forth a magical being was the image of the magical creature visualized in one's heart. When that image was properly formed, one could summon the magical being so docile. Rufus understood and thought that if he could imagine the details clearly, that should work. He then decided to try summoning a burden first. Its form and coloring reminded him of Peep, the Java sparrow he used to have, and he wondered if Peep was doing well in heaven. Then Rufus started the chant, commanding in the name of Rufus Eladoria to manifest burden. Then the burden appeared in his hands. Rufus's eyes glowed with excitement as he held the burden. Selbus thought it was impossible to succeed at summoning on the first try. The burden flapped its wings, and it announced that it had arrived. Everyone was too stunned to speak. Lala and Selbus were shaking, realizing that it had spoken. Rufus stared at the burden, thinking that the burden he summoned had just talked. Judging by their reactions, having a summoned magical being talk was quite unexpected. Rufus greeted the burden and thought about why it had talked. It was not like he hadn't wished he could talk to fluffy creatures once or twice before. Then he thought of something. He wondered if maybe with a strong enough image, he could summon things other than the magical beings in that book. He wondered what he should do if he could summon anything. He wanted something big, strong, cute, white and fluffy and soft. With red eyes, a dragon it was. He thought it was embarrassing, realizing he was a college student inside after all, and had included too many details. He scolded himself, thinking that such thoughts were only acceptable until elementary school, and that he should not be ridiculous. Then he silenced his thoughts with his final decision, thinking that since a 7-year-old was imagining this, it was not embarrassing, certainly. He thought that was right, it was not weird. He then commanded the red-eyed, white-feathered dragon to come forth as his servant. He was embarrassed, thinking that he really had said it. Lala, Selbus, and his brothers called Prince Rufus. Rufus opened his eyes in surprise, and then his eyes widened. A huge, red-eyed, white-feathered dragon appeared in front of him. He thought that something way more impressive than he expected had come out. Oops. That's all for now. The full adventure will be coming soon, so make sure to follow and subscribe to catch every exciting moment.